The Thanksgiving story most Americans learn is a simple one, a kind of national fairy tale. It features pilgrims dressed in black, with buckled hats, Native Americans adorned in feathers sharing a harmonious feast. Passed down through generations in school pageants and family gatherings, it paints a picture of peaceful beginnings. But this tale is less a faithful history and more a carefully constructed myth. The real story is buried beneath nostalgia and national aspiration. It's more intricate, fraught, and human. To understand Thanksgiving, we must look past comforting images and examine 17th century realities. The people we call the Pilgrims were not called that in their own time. They were a small sect of religious separatists who had broken away from the Church of England, which they believed was corrupt beyond reform. After fleeing England for the more tolerant Netherlands, they grew concerned that their children were losing their English identity. Seeking a place to practice their faith and maintain their culture, they secured financing from English merchants to establish a colony in North America. They were not adventurers seeking gold, nor were they empire builders in the grand sense. They were religious refugees, a small, tight-knit community driven by a profound and uncompromising faith, sailing toward a wilderness they knew little about. Their journey on the Mayflower in 1620 was one of desperation, a gamble for spiritual purity in a new world. Their arrival at what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts, in the late fall of 1620 was a catastrophe. The famous gathering of autumn 1621 was not, in the minds of the Pilgrims, a Thanksgiving. For them, a day of Thanksgiving was a solemn, religious affair, a day of prayer and fasting, to give thanks to God for a specific blessing, end of a drought, victory in battle. The 1621 event was something different, a secular harvest celebration, a tradition from rural England. After their first successful corn harvest, a success made possible by Tisquantum or Squanto, Governor William Bradford organized a feast to celebrate survival and good fortune, a moment of relief, a brief respite from constant struggle. It was a party, not a prayer meeting. The arrival of the Wampanoag was not part of the original plan. The Pilgrims began the celebration with gunfire. Massasoit and about 90 of his men arrived, likely to investigate the commotion. Seeing a feast, they were invited to join. The 1621 Harvest Feast at Plymouth, not the origin of a continuous tradition. It was a singular event. They didn't make it annual. During the colonial period, communities declared days of Thanksgiving tied to specific events: a successful harvest, a military victory, the end of a drought. Those days were proclaimed by governors, by ministers, and they fell on different days in different places. There was no single, unified Thanksgiving Day. The national Thanksgiving tied to the Pilgrim story is a 19th century invention. The primary architect was Sarah Josepha Hale. Hale, editor of Godey's Lady's Book, campaigned for over 30 years. She wrote editorials. She published recipes for turkey. She published recipes for pumpkin pie. She sent letters to governors. She sent letters to congressmen. She sent letters to presidents. Hale wanted a day to bind the nation, a domestic festival of shared American heritage. She helped popularize the Pilgrim origin myth. Hale's campaign succeeded during the Civil War. After Union victories at Gettysburg and Vicksburg, President Abraham Lincoln issued a proclamation declaring the last Thursday in November a national day of Thanksgiving. The proclamation was written by Secretary of State William Seward. Today, Thanksgiving exists as a holiday of profound contradictions. For many Americans, it remains a cherished day for family, food, gratitude, a secular Sabbath dedicated to reunion, reflection. It is the most traveled day of the year, a time when homes are filled with the smells of roasting turkey and the sounds of football games. This version of the holiday, the one envisioned by Sarah Josepha Hale, focuses on universal themes of family, harvest largely disconnected from its complicated historical roots. It is a day to give thanks for personal blessings, a moment of warmth, togetherness before the onset of winter. This deeply ingrained cultural practice is a powerful force in American life, a tradition held dear by millions. However, for many Native Americans, Thanksgiving is a day of mourning and protest, not celebration. It marks the beginning of a long and brutal history of colonization, land theft, disease, and cultural destruction. Since 1970, the United American Indians of New England have organized a National Day of Mourning on Coles Hill, overlooking Plymouth Rock, on the same day as Thanksgiving. It is a solemn gathering to remember the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of their lands, and the relentless assault on their cultures. For them, the sanitized myth of the Pilgrims and Indians sharing a friendly meal is a painful lie that erases the suffering of their ancestors and the ongoing struggles their communities face today. This tension between celebration and mourning reveals the unsettled nature of American history. Acknowledging the full story of Thanksgiving does not mean we must abolish the holiday. Instead, it invites us to observe it with a deeper sense of historical consciousness. It means understanding that the story is not a simple one of good versus evil, but a complex one involving people making difficult choices in a world undergoing radical change. It requires us to hold the myth and the reality in our minds at the same time, the image of a shared feast and the knowledge of the conflict that followed. It means making room at the table for the difficult truths alongside the turkey and stuffing. Ultimately, the story of Thanksgiving matters because it is a story about the very origins of the United States. It forces us to confront the foundational questions of our nation. Was it born in peace or in violence? In mutual respect or in conquest? The answer, of course, is all of the above. The endurance of Thanksgiving as a Central American ritual provides an annual opportunity to grapple with these questions. It is a day to give thanks, certainly, but also a day to remember, learn, and reflect on the complex and often painful legacy of the encounter between two worlds on a patch of land in coastal Massachusetts 4 centuries ago. That is the full story, and it is a story worth telling.